USS Chicago, actual to dry dock shelter. We have a go. TD is high flooded. Full pressure. Begin deployment. T1 SDV is away. Hotel 6, bang 01 bagger. USS Dallas deploying Team 2, RV at the objective. Section 1 Alpha, moving up to Section 2. Roger that, Hotel 6. Keep it tight, people. Go visual rating. 3 to engage. Suppressed weapons only.
Secured in Section 2 Echo.
Roger that, Hotel 6. Team 2 will secure an evac. Continue your search topside.
Okay, move upstairs. Control, we're advancing to deck 2. Eyes open. Watch your sectors.
Enemy helo patrolling the perimeter. Keep a low profile, Hotel 6.
Roger that. Enemy helo gun in sight.
Hotel 6, 4 hostages are in your position.
Copy that.
Hotel 6, 4 hostages are in your position. Hotel 6, 4 hostages are in your position.
Copy that. Clear.
Control, all deck 2 hostages secured. Enemy radio. I think we're gonna have company, sir. Set up a plan B. Get some C4 on those bodies. Go. C4, place, sir.
Get running over the position. You'll have first number to discover the bodies. There's a patrol. Hold your fire until they're closer. Stand by. Stand by. Plan B. Do it.
secure that location before we can send in reinforcements to handle the SAM sites. Over.
Roger that. We'll call it Manning Pro and LZ Bravo. CENTCOM needs us to take the top deck ASAP so they can send in the Marines. Move. Ghost, I gotta move.
I got it. Contact down. Hotel 6 hostages from lower decks are being extracted by Team 2. Proceed to the top deck ASAP to secure the rest. Over.
Copy that. We'll watch on it. Out.
confirmed at your location along with possible explosives. Over.
Copy that. All teams, check your fire. Don't know what's behind these doors. Ghost, clearing. Copy that. I'm on it. Drop that down. Get a frame charge on the door. We'll hit the room from both sides.
Good job, Hotel 6. Marine reinforcements are inserting now to dismantle the SAM sites. Get your team ready for phase 2 of the operation. Out. Under Tier 2, this is Punisher Actual. Full flight secure. All the EOD teams are cleared to land. Roger, Punisher. 60 on his own. Punisher, this is Unit 1. 257-221 for CI mission. Requesting signal. Over. Local airspace is secure. IC, local airspace is secure. Do not force the target area along route November 2. Actual secure the same side of the southwest corner of Mayday. Team 3 is received pointing at the area and disarm explosives. Punisher Actual, all strike teams. All SAM sites neutralized. Repeat.